For Comedy Hype News, it's your boy K-Rock. If you happen to scroll through streaming services for the latest stand-up comedy special, you can thank Charlie Case, who went from lawyer to laughter, bolstering a career as a pioneer in the art of stand-up comedy. Charlie Case was a former entertainer writing his own songs before he would go on to be known as one of the most famous vaudeville acts of all time. Adding the Godfather of comedy to his title would come later and is due to him truly being the first of his kind. If not for Case, one can only wonder where would the world of humor be. As comedy once was an act without words and far less people had access to see these shows to have an opinion. The advent of stand-up comedy does not have a specific date that is agreed upon. However, it is clear that the origins and location of that is New York City and its infamous vaudeville shows. Vaudeville shows were showcases made famous during the late 1800s and into the early 1900s in major cities with people yearning for entertainment and willing to spend the money. Prior to these shows, bar halls and other places that only allowed for a small amount of people were the only venues to put out such entertainment. These showcases at the vaudeville shows granted individuals with nearly any talent a chance to perform, and individuals changing talents was common. As a natural storyteller and musician, the man of many talents would turn to performing via singing prior to his discovery of what we know today as stand-up comedy. Meet Charlie Case, the black man credited for inventing stand-up comedy, a story you should know. Born of Irish and African-American descent in Lockport, New York on August 27, 1958, Case was pushed to succeed from the beginning by his hard-working parents. His parents provided a solid upbringing that saw Case attend quality schools, and he was overall a great student. Despite a career path that saw him graduate from the Union School in 1878 and go on to run his own law firm, albeit with only him working for it and making more than a modest salary, Case would give up on all of this. The law firm was not very successful, even being on 75th Street and Main Street, or downtown Lockport. To pass the time, Case would often play his banjo and sing in his office, along with no worries about business. After a failed trial in which Case saw a man get 3 years in prison, he shifted to being a salesman, believing that this would be sensible, as he assumed it would be less intense than selling a story to a judge and a jury. After finding much failure also being a salesman, one thing that stuck out to those doing business with Case was the fact that people would listen to his pitches for such a long time and be captivated, yet still not buy anything. As a singer, Case made music that not only focused on his upbringing, but used similar characters to get across comedic messages in the songs. Many of his songs became notable as the crowd would wait anxiously for the point only to be hit with a joke when they least expected. While this was successful for Case, there were limits and audience would often get bored with stories. With the monologues Case did prior to comedy, it was clear that he could keep an audience guessing and engaged, even as he told the stories and songs in a lackadaisical voice. Depending on when the act would go on, the crowd could be lethargic, making it difficult to get a feel for what went well altogether. The comedy bug was always there for Case, with hints of it even showing up in his work. Sales seemed like a great field. However, in hindsight, the real intrigue for the customers were the stories Case told, and the hilarious points that seemed to come from nowhere, much to desire customers that barely purchased anything. This signaled a shift to entertainment, as Case didn't know he would become a fixture, but it was clear his storytelling was a thing of legends. While there have been jokers and fools for years throughout history, many of them focused on the same routine, with little imagination beyond what everyone else did. Speaking for these acts did not exist at the time, and as a result, the popularity would die down in decades to come. For Charlie Case, the art of comedy was taken further after he began with a group of partners believing they would become successful. According to the discography of American historical recordings, it was also not uncommon for African Americans to perform in blackface as a loophole into the entertainment business in those days. As a black man with an Irish mother, Case was sometimes granted access that perhaps a darker-skinned black man would not have been.
Hear how this story ends at hypersclub.com with a Hype Plus digital pass.